Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about PS4 emulation with Shad PS4. And this is a pretty big breakthrough for the emulator. They've got Dismantle up and running. Now yes, this is not Bloodborne, but at the same time here, this is a 3D game up and running, which I would argue is a massive step forward. Now it's worth pointing out that that footage is from version 0.0.4, which is currently a work in progress. The latest release for Shad PS4 is version 0.0.3. Shad PS4 is 100% free, it's open source, and if you are curious about it, I'll drop a link in the description below. Feel free to check it out. Next up is a quick follow-up to something I asked in a previous video. I couldn't understand why Elon Musk hiding likes on Twitter was such a controversy. And a lot of people commented with stuff that, to me, makes a lot of sense. I mean, the big problem I now see is lack of transparency. You don't know who is liking a post. You don't know if a company is paying for likes on a post. You don't know if a post is being artificially inflated with likes thanks to bots, and the list continues to go on. For a platform that's trying to take itself seriously, lack of transparency is a very weird stance to take. If I'm not mistaken, a while back Elon was all about making Twitter open source, and well, now this is kind of the exact opposite. Next up, we're talking about a brand new game that's just popped up on Steam. There is no release date for it just yet, but it's called Platypus Reclayed, and you may recognize this game. So this shoot 'em up was released 22 years ago. I'll drop a link to this YouTube video in the description below in the event that you wanted to check out some gameplay. They're now remastering the game. Next up, we're quickly talking about the legendary Crix, and Crix has just released the OpenEd. He says here, OpenEd is a very simple and cheap open source Mega Drive cartridge. Cart does not have its own CPU or FPGA. It is built in the old school style using only memory and discrete logic. There is no fancy features. It is almost like regular Cart but with SD card. If you are curious about this one, if you know how to make PCBs or have them made for you, I'll drop a link to the GitHub in the description below. This project is all 100% free and open source. Next up is just a quick heads up, and you may have already seen it by the time you're watching this video, but Nintendo is having a Nintendo Direct on June 18th. The big rumors for this one are Metroid gameplay and a 2D Zelda gameplay. I'm kind of curious to see if these rumors come true. Next up is another quick one, and this one might be a big win for game preservation. Alex Krauss says a former employee of Sigma Enterprises confirms that he has a working prototype cartridge of Moeyo Butaman. I probably butchered that one. It was a cancelled Famicom game that has never been dumped. Until now, only some artwork and a few magazine screenshots exist. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about the game, I'll drop a link to the Unseen64 webpage in the description below and feel free to check it out. There's not a whole lot about the game, but there's pretty much everything we know about it so far. Next up, another quick one. If you're a fan of Linux on mobile devices, postmarketOS just released version 24.06. Now, if you're new to this stuff, please temper your expectations. They say this release is geared mainly towards Linux enthusiasts. We are working hard on stability improvements and automated testing. But if you expect Android or iOS levels of polish, then this is not for you yet. And the key word there, at least in my opinion, is yet. It's going to take a while, but hopefully it gets there. Anyways, they say it's based on Alpine Linux 3.20. There's a bunch of new stuff in this version, and in my opinion, one of the big things here is if you've got a Samsung Chromebook, it's now got GPU acceleration. If you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to it in the description below and feel free to check it out. There's now a whole bunch more devices that are compatible with this. And speaking about Linux, next up we're talking about Ubuntu, and Ubuntu seems to be making some pretty big improvements. So in this development blog, one of the big things they're saying is they're expanding permissions for the Steam Snap, which should help out gaming performance and compatibility. Truth be told, I don't like Steam Snap. I don't recommend it, but if you're using it, it's going to get better for you. The second big update is for the App Center. They say they're adding support for externally downloaded deb installations. This update will include additional messaging for users to consider the trustworthiness of the source of these applications before installing. Next up, we're talking about the formerly upcoming Life by You. In a previous video, we talked about this game's delay and how things did not look good. Apparently, the writing was on the wall. Paradox Interactive says Life by You has regrettably been cancelled. Find a full statement here, our apologies and gratitude to our loyal community. As with everything I talk about, I'll drop a link to this in the description below and feel free to check out the full statement for yourself. At a super high level here, basically the developers did not feel they could get the game to a state they were happy with in order to release it, so they just decided to cancel the game altogether. However, there may be more to the story. Gaming on Linux is reporting that Paradox Interactive sent out a PR this morning to note that Paradox Tectonic are being shut down. So is the fact that the game was canceled the reason why Paradox Tectonic are being shut down? Or is it the other way around? Paradox Tectonic are being shut down and that's the reason the game is canceled. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But shifting from bad to arguably good news, and next up we're talking about the upcoming Samsung Galaxy S25. It feels like we just got the S24. Anyways, it may be Snapdragon only due to Exynos yield issues. And this is arguably a really good thing, especially if you're into emulation. Now, this is just a rumor. However, according to the article, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 could be shipping in the Galaxy S series globally. I'll drop a link to the article in the description below and feel free to check it out. And speaking about Android, next up we're talking about a game you may not have realized is now on Android, and that's Hyperlight Drifter. Hyperlight Drifter is arguably a very popular indie game that was released on Steam back in 2016 to very positive reviews. So the SE on the Android version stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Special Edition depending on how you want to interpret that. And if you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to the Google Play Store page in the description below and feel free to check it out. And speaking about mobile games, this one is kind of surprising. We're talking about Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy, the definitive edition. And apparently, according to mobilegamer.biz, it's been downloaded 30 million times over on Netflix. I'll drop a link to this article in the description below so you can read through the stats yourself, but iOS apparently dominates the platform split. San Andreas has been downloaded an estimated 15.8 million times on Apple devices, with just 4.7 million on Android. Now, before you jump on me in the comments, I know this is an absolutely horrible comparison, but I'm just showing it to you for some food for thought. Monster Hunter World is the best-selling Monster Hunter game. It was released back in 2018 and sold 20.1 million units. Imagine how much a game like this would sell if it was ever released on mobile. Now you could say, you know what, Mr. Sujano, Monster Hunter is already on mobile with Monster Hunter Now. And I would say, yes it is, but it also isn't. I mean, Monster Hunter Now is nowhere near as good as something like Monster Hunter World. And this game already has over 5 million downloads. And my point being here is that the mobile audience is huge. Mobile games are getting a lot better, and I would argue Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy, the definitive edition, isn't even that great, according to reviews and according to experiences. Yet it's still very successful. And speaking about Capcom, because we talked about Monster Hunter World, see the tie-in there, we're talking about Resident Evil. And apparently Resident Evil 1996 has been rated for PC in Europe. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, if they're going to have a new release for this, or if they're going to remaster it, or if they're just releasing the old version of it on Steam. Next up, I've got another quick one for you, and it might be exciting to a lot of people. Habbo Hotel has announced they're bringing back Habbo Hotel as it existed back in 2005. Play Habbo Hotel Origins tomorrow. I'll drop a link to this in the description below so you can go on ahead and check it out yourself. They say after discovering an old decrepit server with some long-lost files at the beginning of this year, over the past 6 months or so, longtime Habbo developer and player Mackleby has lovingly restored an old version of Habbo Hotel, first released in 2005. After a lot of hard work from Mackleby and the team, we're now ready to take you back in time to Habbo's roots. Tomorrow we'll be opening the doors to Habbo Hotel Origins, an iconic version of the iconic game with a fresh community-led approach. Next up is a quick one. Insider Gaming is reporting that EA CEO earned $25 million in the same year that the firm cut 700 jobs. Why am I not surprised? But moving from not surprised to surprised, and apparently the US is suing Adobe for deceiving subscriptions that are too hard to cancel. Things are arguably going from bad to worse for Adobe. I mean, they were just recently blasted for privacy issues and privacy concerns with some of their new policy. And now this. I'll drop a link to this article in the description below and let me know your thoughts about it. Now, for what it's worth, I don't use any Adobe products on this channel, but I used to. For video editing, I used to use Adobe Rush. I found it quick and intuitive. But then for me, it became buggy and unstable and a headache to use. And since then, I've canceled that subscription and switched to Shotcut, which is free and open source. I've been using Shotcut for years, and I didn't have any issue canceling my Adobe subscription, but things may have changed. If you've had to cancel from Adobe, let me know your thoughts about canceling in the comments below. Apparently now you have to go through multiple web pages and pop-ups, and then you get ambushed with an early termination fee. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a ton today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.